Tonight, Victory Lap. The Premier says voters are switched on for privatisation.
The sooner we can get on with it, the sooner we can start building the infrastructure that makes a difference to people's lives.
From the city to the bush, the Greens upset the status quo.
This election marks a decisive change in the way politics will work in this state.
Lessons lost. Programs teaching mums to care for kids hit by budget cuts. And Australia's pacemen rattle the Black Caps in the World Cup final.
Yes, he has, and I'll tell you what, this is a magnificent catch.
Hello, you're watching ABC News Sunday. I'm Juanita Phillips. Well, Mike Baird has done what his Victorian and Queensland counterparts couldn't, get re-elected on the issue of privatisation. He does have a reduced majority due to a 9% swing to Labor, but it's still a comfortable margin for government. The biggest surprise of the night was the Greens. They've won up to 4 seats in the country and inner Sydney, which Labor was hoping to get. State political reporter Bridget Glanville.
From the young and the elderly, words of congratulation to Mike Baird. A victory lap in Manly, author Thomas Keneally summed up what many said brought the Premier home.
You can't beat that bad persona, you know. At the end of the day.
His first job is to lease half the state's poles and wires network.
We'll get on with it. We'll negotiate with the upper house because the sooner we can get on with it, the sooner we can start building the infrastructure that makes a difference to people's lives.
There was a 9% swing to Labor, not nearly enough to form government, but Luke Foley says they're now in a position to win in 2019.
Before yesterday, we needed a statewide swing of 16 or 17% to form government. Now we need a swing of around 5% to win the next election.
Votes are still being counted, but the prediction is for the Coalition to hold 53 seats, Labor 34, the Greens will now have 4 seats and the Independents 2. Labor won back traditional strongholds such as Granville, Rockdale and Campbelltown. The Greens won the 2 inner city seats of Balmain and Newtown. The Liberals held on to the state's most marginal seat, East Hills, and increased its majority in Oatley. Elsewhere, the ALP also won seats in the Hunter and on the Central Coast, and the Greens picked up Ballina and are leading in Lismore. It's this swing that's been the biggest surprise to the Coalition and Labor, with the Greens taking votes from both sides.
This was an election in which they were comprehensively rebuffed in 2 of their heartlands. I think they will listen more carefully to the things we say in Parliament and in the community.
Mike Baird will spend the next couple of days working on a cabinet reshuffle. Parliament doesn't sit again until May. By then, the makeup of the upper house will be known and how easy or not it will be for the government to win support for its electricity plans. Bridget Glanville, ABC News.
Well, as you just heard, the Greens are celebrating their biggest election victory to date. They went into the poll holding just 1 seat and came out of it with 3, possibly 4. 2 of the seats are in the inner city and 2 in the country, showing the Greens are now not just a threat to Labor, but to the Nationals. Ashley Raper reports.
New South Wales needs to make room for more green space.
This election marks a decisive change in the way politics will work in this state.
Until 2011, the Greens had never held a lower house seat. Now Jamie Parker has plenty of company in the Bear Pit.
Jamie's got a friend now.
I've got a friend.
Next door to his inner west electorate of Balmain, the Greens took what was expected to be a Labor gain in newly formed Newtown with a swing of 6%. In the north, the Greens picked up the previously safe national seat of Ballina with a swing of almost 32%. Lismore is still undecided, but the Greens are neck and neck with the Nationals in the Conservative stronghold. In the inner city, the Greens capitalised on the growing opposition to the building of the multi-billion-dollar motorway West Connects.
It's pretty clear from the result in Newtown that we can say that if any of the people in Newtown have anything to do with it, we won't see the West Connects motorway happening.
In the north, it was the opposition to coal seam gas that helped the green tide sweep across the coast.
This is the Greens being lockstep with the social movement to protect our land and water from coal seam gas, resulting in a strong swing in favour of the Greens.
It is such a historic thing that I think, it really wasn't until late last night that I've allowed myself to go, wow, this has actually happened.
The consolation for the Nationals, their losses appear isolated.
The Greens' vote across the state remain the same. It's just that it's becoming concentrated in certain areas, and of course Nimbin, Byron Bay, this is a mecca for people who are doing that lifestyle choice.
The absence of a statewide swing towards the Greens makes it unclear whether they'll pick up any extra upper house seats. They currently hold 5, which they're expected to retain. Ashley Raper, ABC News.
For the Abbott government, the New South Wales election result was a great relief. Coalition governments were recently sent packing in Victoria and Queensland, and unpopular federal policies were held partly responsible. Last night, the government congratulated Mike Baird on a, quote, outstanding victory, praising his ability to sell a major economic reform. Jane Norman reports from Canberra.
After coalition losses in Queensland and Victoria, Mike Baird has stopped the rout.
Tonight, they have chosen hope over fear.
They appear to have chosen a charismatic leader too.
He's popular, but he's not a populist. Mike Baird has that winning smile and that incredible natural charm, which only a few people are blessed with.
Mike Baird took a controversial privatisation plan to the election and won. Federal Liberals have drawn inspiration from his political salesmanship.
It certainly did show that if the people understand the nature of the reform and people understand the problem, then they'll be happy to be part of the solution.
China's been a foreign policy problem recently, and the government has finally announced a solution. It will take the next step towards joining Beijing's multi-billion-dollar Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, despite earlier misgivings.
This is a bank that is going to build infrastructure throughout our region, in our neighbourhood, and we need to be a part of it.
Before any money goes in, Australia will demand more safeguards and transparency rules, including that the fund be truly regional and that no single country has control of it.
This is a very good opportunity for Australia. Australia should have been involved months ago, and instead of squabbling and leaking, the government should answer the basic questions about whether we'll sign up, when we'll sign up and how much we'll contribute.
With the China Bank behind him, the Treasurer's gaze is fixed on his own finances. Tomorrow he'll release a discussion paper to throw open a national conversation on Australia's future tax options. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.